we're going to be doing a project called the Multiple Exposure Portrait. First off, let me show you where you can find it on Schoology. So as we're scrolling on down here, you'll find this week 5 through TBD folder. Open that up, and it's the top one on the list. First off, let me show you some examples here. So these are some finished examples of how the project had been completed by other students. So your goal is that you're going to be having a central image that you take with the studio lights, that you're going to be layering in some additional photographs that you've taken. Now, my challenge for you is that you've got at least 4 or more meaning photographs that you combine in with the photo of yourself. So that would be a minimum of 5 pictures, but as you're putting it all together, it'll make sense for how you might not include all of an image. For example, in this example, they have this ride that they had photographed from a time that they were down at an amusement park, and they have that just running, right within themselves just for part of an image, but it doesn't extend into another part of the image. Also, they've got a nice sunset sky in the background that's behind some of their other images. So as you're putting it together, you'll be able to move yourself around, resize things, and decide what you want to have as the main focus in your picture. Even with this one, they'd been to a zoo and they photographed some animals while they were there, and so they included those within the image, but they may not be covering up a large portion of the artwork. Alright. So as you're starting the project, your first goal is going to be to take your portrait. So that's this section right here. So I want you to think of an expression and angle that makes sense for what you want to do in your artwork. You could get up really close and do a headshot. Maybe do a 3/4 shot where you're kind of backing up, having yourself cropped off between your knees and your hips. Or you could even do a full body shot and include your entire self in the image. Getting the lighting set up is going to be important here. Now, you've seen me do it a couple times now as we were setting up the studio lights in class, but here are some reminders on how you do it. First, you're going to want to get the backdrop down. On my desk, you're going to see a remote that can change the backdrops. If you're wanting to do white, it's number 4. If you want to do black, it's number 3 on the remote. And if you want to do gray, it's going to be number 2. I would not suggest doing blue. Just stick with the standard white, black, or gray. Most students cut themselves out of the backdrop anyway, so as long as you've got a backdrop that doesn't connect to any of the colors that you're wearing, because that can make it a little bit harder to cut yourself out, that would be okay. So then on the remote, you've got arrows. The up arrow and down arrow are the only ones you want to use. Do not click auto up or auto down. They are not programmed and they don't work. So pull the backdrop down by pressing the down arrow after you've selected the number backdrop that you want. And then you're going to be using the studio lights that are hanging from the ceiling. You're going to want to use at least 2, but you could even use 3. Whichever light you want to have as your main light source, which is your key light, take the transmitter from that light, attach it to the top of your camera, switch over to manual mode, and use the settings on the side of the light. Then you want to unplug the receivers on the other lights that you want to have go off at the same time. So you unplug those, and as long as the lights are turned on, they will all burst with a flash when you are taking your picture. Remember to adjust for light if you need to. If it's too bright, you can increase your aperture number. If it's too dark, you can decrease your aperture number, and that'll help to bring in more light. Right after you've taken your portrait, or while you're waiting for somebody else to get their portrait taken, you're going to be sifting through your own pictures. These could be pictures that you have already taken in the class, or maybe something in the past. Cruise through your photo album on your phone. Maybe you've taken some pictures on a trip in the past, or in another setting that you want to use. These photographs you want to get to your computer. The easiest way, if you're taking stuff off your phone, is to email them to yourself, and then you can download them from your email. Otherwise, you can upload them to a Google Drive folder on your phone, and then access that Google Drive folder on your computer to download them. From there, you're going to be following the demos. So I've got one video demo that should be all you need right here, that will walk you through how you start combining your pictures together. You can also access another video that I think is pretty good. This one's called the double exposure effect. You can add to the ideas of the double exposure to add even more pictures, because that only shows you combining two pictures together. But once you've completed your edit, and this is a project due on Friday this week, once you've completed the edit, you're going to be turning it in as a JPEG. But I want you to make sure that you're writing in the comments area within Schoology as you're submitting your file to write what kind of meaning you're bringing into your artwork. That's going to be one of the most important pieces for me, is that you're creating more of a self-portrait, and so you're using images that are meaningful to you, or maybe speak to your interests or things that you care about in life. So that's going to be your project this week. We'll also probably be looking at starting to develop an idea for your final project as well. Well, that's all I got for you here, so go ahead and follow the steps that are on the board up front, and you can work your way through those to get done what you need to get done for today.